Hello and welcome. I am going to be talking about today this whole idea of non attachment in sales, how to not let fear and your ego overtake the sales conversation, and really how to do all of the things like remain neutral that people may talk about. And you're like, but how do you do it? I don't even know where to begin. So that's what we're going to discuss. And I'm going to give you my best tips for truly keeping your ego at bay and remaining unattached during a sales call. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jana Niksa. I am the Authentic Sales Coach. I teach entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, service based entrepreneurs all about how to sell with far more heart and soul and less with fear, ego, pushing on pain, all of the things you've learned to really despise that when you think of sales. And so essentially, at the end of the day, I help you create high ticket offers that sell and teach you how to sell them to get more high ticket clients. So let's begin, shall we, into digging into makes what makes us get attached in the first place, where this fear comes from on a sales call, and truly how to keep it at bay. So hilarious. I've been doing a lot of interviews just today, and this has been the topic the whole time. So when this popped up as the topic for today, I was like, of course it is. And so, yeah, let's dig into really what makes this whole thing work in actually tangible ways that are going to make a difference in your business. Okay. So, let's refer to the Hawkins scale. This is always a really great place to begin when you're talking about selling with more heart and less ego. Because if you are in the spiritual space at all, if you've read anything like A Course in Miracles, or if you've studied any of Dr. Hawkins' work, he wrote The Fear, Power Over Power versus Force. And he also wrote Letting Go. Highly recommend Letting Go. Power versus Force really breaks down this scale that I'm about to share with you. But the ultimate thing in all of this is there's two states of being that we are in at all times, one or the other. And that is either we are in fear or we're in love. Okay. We are either in service to self, service to others. We are either in force and lack, or we are in our power and abundance. I'm sure you're starting to see a pattern. And this beautiful line right here through the center is neutrality. Okay. So essentially, anything above this line, you're in a neutral state. Anything below this line, you are not. Okay. So just to break down Dr. Hawkins' scale a little bit more, there's a Dr. Hawkins. No, Hawkins. Okay. So what he did using kinesiology is he measured out different frequencies of vibrations of different consciousness levels. Okay. And you're maybe thinking, Gina, I don't understand how this has to do with overcoming attachment in sales, but it will, believe me. Stick with me. Okay. And hey, if you like where I'm going with this and this approach, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps this channel to reach more people, because there's a lot of people just like you who want to learn how to get more high ticket clients, how to get more clients, period, how to sell better and not do it the traditional bro, pushy, gross, slimy, sleazy way. Okay. So please like, subscribe, do all the things. Okay. Now back to this. If you're in these lower states, right? If you're in your fear, if you're in ego, okay, what he did was he started to measure out the different emotions and what they vibrated at. And interestingly enough, shame and guilt were at the very lowest of the totem pole. So it wasn't even anger or even sadness, which I thought was really interesting. But in this space, people are really, really suffering. Okay. And it really creates an issue for them. So, but then we swoop on up here a little bit, and they're more in. They've decided, they're taking some of their power back, and they're in courage, they're in desire, they're in pride. But the problem is a lot of that is driven by fear, because the fear is right there in the mix. And so this is where a lot of the personal development space lives. Okay, it's like do more, go faster, early bird catches the worm. And I love Tony Robbins, and I know he spends time up here too, but this is probably a lot of his older work, a lot of the surface work, right? And then as you keep going up, as the vibration increases into the high vibes, right? The high vibe, low vibe thing is a real thing. You start getting into your expanded state and into your power. Okay. And this is where we have things like peace, surrender, trust, love, joy, gratitude. And what I want you to really pay attention to is this line. And the key to this, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, is the key is to not go unconscious to where you are and noticing when you've dipped down here and finding ways to bring you back up here. Okay? Because guess what else lives up here? Unattachment or non-attachment, right? Not being in fear, being in surrender and trust, being in service, being in love, being in that state of abundance, being magnetic, being attractive. And no, I don't mean like hot. I mean like people just want to be in your energy. So I wanted to break that down first so that you guys could understand some of the key concepts I'm going to speak to now. So if you're thinking about this, the ego lives here. It lives in the bottom half. And then we're not knocking the ego. Yes, does it create a huge source of suffering in our life? Absolutely. But it also keeps us safe. It has a purpose or it wouldn't be here. So the key is to keep your ego in check. Keep it where it needs to be. It doesn't get to run the show. And unfortunately, as you're probably aware, for most of humanity, their ego is running the show. And guess where the traditional sales model that you've really grown to hate lives? Right up in that area, on pride, courage, desire, and pushing on fears and scarcity and FOMO, right? It lives here. So essentially, the sales that you have like really a hard time with, or that you feel really misaligned with, is selling with the ego. Pretty much 99.999% of sales models that I've seen, that my clients have seen, that other coaches in the industry that are friends of mine have seen, all live below this line. It's all about, what do I need to say? How can I get the person to do what I need them to do in order to be successful? It's all about control. It's all about attachment. It's all about lack consciousness. Like if they need them to give me the thing. And when we live in that space, we are holding a lot of fear. And that is why so many people resist sales, because they think it has to be done that way. It has to be forced, convinced, push, when in all actuality, nothing could be further from the truth. I spent over 2 decades in the world of sales as a top performing sales executive. And I actually, when I learned, I didn't even know what I was doing, you guys. This was long before my spiritual awakening. But intuitively, I was above this line the majority of the time. And it made me one of the top closers in the nation. It made me one of the top performers year over year, no matter what company I went to, no matter what products I had. And it was really because I made it about the customer and not about me. And so I know a lot of people teach that, but how many are actually doing it? That is the question. How many people say sales is serving? Now buy my thing. Here are all the tricks to get you to buy my thing. It's not really very service minded if you think about it. And so the reason I wanted to break this down for you is there's an entirely different way to sell that's available to you when you actually release the fear, release the need to control, and release the attachment. And the very best way I know how to do that is to notice your ego and when it starts to come into the situation, and how to nicely and gently take it out of the situation. Okay. And when you can do that, things start to happen for you, and you start to have magical, spiritual, dare I say, sales conversations. So you're probably thinking, well, Janet, that's great, but how do I do it? Well, I'll give you, there's a lot of different practices that I teach. There's a lot of, nuances to it that make it even far more effective. But I would say the most powerful thing you can remember is to stay present on that sales call. Because here's the key: the ego cannot live in the present moment. The ego stories of attachment and not enough, and I don't have enough, either exist in the future or in the past. And so the more present you are, the more those stories have no space. They cannot be present with your presence. And so, excuse me, how do I make myself present? Is by breathing. The actual quickest, simplest way to bring yourself home to who you really are and to drop back into your heart space is to breathe, and is to ground, and is to be in this moment. And so, of course, there's other things you want to look at in terms of how you're talking to your person and what you're saying and who you're being and, what your expectations are. But truly, it's about your presence first and foremost. If you want to disassociate yourself from your ego, from that fear and that attachment. Because at the end of the day, the question and the pushback I always get is, but Jana, I have to make money. How do I make money if I'm not? That may be true, but that does not need to drive your sales conversation. And you want to work on cultivating the skill set to help you release that story when you're talking to somebody else. Because the truth is, it's not about you, it is about them. And the sooner you can truly embody that, not just say it, the easier it will all get. Because sales is like everything else in life. We make it so much more complicated than it has to be. In our head, we try to wrap our head around it and get it all involved. And if they say this, you say that. And if they do this, and yes, of course, it's great to have a framework so that you know where you're going and how you're getting them there, so that you know how to handle certain objections and things. But at the end of the day, it's truly about who you are. And so the very best way to be non-attached is to be present and to listen. To remember that you're there to provide a massive service to this person. And I always set the intention for the highest good. And that also releases some of that emotional charge around the situation. So, in a nutshell, just remember, at the end of the day, all sales is helping someone make a decision that they already want to make. And they're on that call with you for a reason. So it's okay. Just don't get in your own way. Stop letting your fear be more important than your mission to help people. And most importantly, make it your own. All these programs, here's my sales script, just read from this, and you lose full connection with the person. So don't be afraid to be who you are on your sales calls, in your sales process, so that you can truly connect with those soulmate clients. And I promise you, it is absolutely possible. I do it each and every day with my clients. So at the end of the day, I just really appreciate you hearing a different perspective on what this can really look like for you and what it can truly mean for your business when you open up to doing it with more authenticity, more service, more integrity, and more love. So thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like this and subscribe if you really want to follow along. I go live here right around 12 Eastern Standard Time, noon, on Thursdays. So drop me some questions you want me to cover below. I love to respond. I'm a generator by human design. So drop those questions below and I'll make sure that I respond to them or create a video on them, whatever it may be. But I am here to really open you up to an entirely different process that's based on decades of experience, 40,000 sales calls under my belt, millions sold. So I'm telling you, it works. It works far better than what you've been taught. And I am absolutely more than happy to show you what this looks like. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.